Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So today I got a fun and interesting episode for you guys this evening because we're taking a look at a Tomba static recompilation that is work in progress that has a fun and interesting kind of vibe going on to it as far as how it's actually made. I think this might be a little bit of a divisive video, but we're going to go ahead with it anyway. And just so you know, I will leave a link in the description below to Game Master 1379's video on this, as well as the GitHub repository and the blog post where they talk about how they created this. Because the reality is, there's a lot of different decomp, recomp, and actual PC port project in development, and I really think this is why retro gaming is making a comeback. And honestly, Tomba, if you've never played it before, is a straight up amazing game, absolute PlayStation 1 hidden gem in my opinion. But just so you know, as we go into this video, and the developer was very upfront about it in their overall GitHub as well as blog post, this is done basically by using AI with no prior experience. Now I totally understand people do or do not like AI, and I am of the personal thought process that in commercial work, whether it's gaming, filmmaking, graphic design, or otherwise, replacing working artists or voiceover actors with AI is just something I never want to see and I do not support. But at the other side of the coin, something that is done just as a personal project for no money exchanged, I don't really see how that could make too many people mad. But if it does, just remember, I do not make these things. Every single video where there might be AI used as far as the game development process is concerned, 2 or 3 people are going to yell at me in the comments like I actually did this thing, so just keep that kind of in check. Before you get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But off the top, the footage you're seeing here is of Tomba running on a PC recompilation. And just so you know, if you're not clear the difference between a recomp and a PC port, I will leave a link in the description below to the video I just ran on that exact topic so you can better understand the difference between the decomp, the recomp, and the PC port, because it does get a little confusing. And just so you know, this is different than when you see other static recomps, something like Banjo Kazooie here that we talked about a month and a half ago. And this is done by coding by hand, basically making sure that the static recompilation works. This is a project that had a lot of hands in it, and as far as recomps are concerned, it is 100% done by humans as far as my knowledge is concerned. There's never been anything stated otherwise. So even when you think about recomps, now we kind of have to categorize them into 2 different distinct categories. We have static recomps of games that are 100% developed by humans, and with something like the actual Tomba recomp, even though it isn't complete, that has been done with Claude AI. So those are 2 different categories, and you can kind of feel however you want. I support that, and you guys can chat about it in the comments. Just try to keep it a little bit cool and have constructive conversations, because again, you're going to just be seeing a lot more of this when it comes to decomps, recomps, and PC ports. The AI era is here as far as retro gaming is concerned, whether you like it or not. And again, so long as it isn't touching commercial projects and nobody is charging for the use of AI in them, then I really kind of feel like it's one of those situations. It is going to continue to keep happening, and so long as nobody is quote-unquote suffering for it, I don't really have that much of an issue personally. And I know when I see comments, a lot of times people are talking about how AI is going to increase the speed of these actual projects, and that just is true. Now if we go over to the GitHub page, again linked down below, they're talking about a generic static recompiler framework for PlayStation 1 games, taking the MIPS code and bringing it over to C, something that a native x64-86 processor instruction set could use. And you'll see here there is a blog post talking about the fact that the developer of this, while they do have development experience, has no prior experience with static recompilation, because that kind of is the reality of the thing. Coding is not a general practice the same way filmmaking isn't a general practice. I am a director and cinematographer for a living. There's tons of things on a film set that I have no idea how to do. And if you actually try to build this one, it seems like the GitHub source is pointing to some local files on the developer system, because I tried and I had anti-D try, and it kept giving the same fail with all of the tool chain set up correctly. So this is definitely something you're not going to be playing it yet, but PSXRecomp as a tool kind of feels a little bit like PS2 recomp tools. It's the idea of being able to bring over the code to native architectures so you can play on your PC. And this is what the recomp is going to sound like once someone can actually get it to build, and it is out later, so go ahead and listen, and I'll be right back. Now, while the sound effects and music there are definitely identifiable as Tom, but the overall balance and volume levels aren't working the same way that it would on PlayStation 1. And in the blog post, the developer talks about using Cloud Code to basically do this. And as far as using any sort of these actual applications are concerned, I have absolutely no idea how they function whatsoever. I've never learned them. I don't have any reason to learn them. It wouldn't be important in my workflow, and honestly, I will say right now, as far as my filmmaking practice is concerned, whether it's YouTube or for clients, 100% of everything I do on this channel and in my own life is 100% done by hand. Now, this is using Claude in conjunction with Ghidra, and if you're not aware, that's basically NSA software, and I don't know how this ever ended up happening back in the day, but basically they made this available for anyone to use. Think about the NSA wants to basically reverse engineer, then you realize you've got some real spy shit going on, and then they're just basically saying, hey, anyone can use this thing. Ghidra can be a very powerful tool. I played around with it a bit, trying to get some decompiled source code off the 3DO M2, and I haven't had a ton of luck, but I still have gotten a few things. And on the blog, they'll go over the overall workflow here as well and how that was done. It is an interesting read, and again, I appreciate the developer was very upfront that this is just a project playing around to see what could be done. Because again, in videos talking about recomps and PC ports, people are always saying that in the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to be seeing AI complete these things from start to finish. And honestly, I think you're giving AI way too much credit. It can be a useful tool if you're trying to get something off the ground. When it actually comes to getting it to function correctly, you're going to end up in there doing a lot of high-tech human-only things. It's just how it works right now. Could that change in the future? Absolutely. Could it be potentially beneficial to retro gaming? I do think it could be. Does that mean you have to like it or not like it? That is completely, again, up to you. There's a lot of reasons why retro gaming is making a comeback, and static recomps and PC ports are definitely leading the charge. And with some of these tools, I think you're going to see a lot more projects coming in. Whether or not you want to play them, that's totally up to you as well. You'll see here on the GitHub goes over a lot of the different architecture of the recompiler and how all of that functions. Definitely a little bit more of deep cut stuff entertains me, but maybe something you can kind of gloss over. But as I've said on the channel many times before, the making of and how things actually become end products is really more entertaining to me than the actual end development, because I'll definitely play Tomba one more time if it exists as a perfect recomp, but I enjoy actually finding out how it gets done more than anything else. Let's do one more soundtrack sample because you just saw the overall workflow, and I'll be right back with more. So I mean, it sounds pretty close to what Tomba would sound like, just not in the right configuration. You'll see here in the current state, you can boot the game, play the FMV intro, get to the menu, take damage, progress quests, things such as that, but there's definitely going to be crashing and soft locks per the developer. And again, I tried everything I could to get this project to build, as did Andy D, and it just kept coming back with fails pointing to what seemed like assets that were on local storage that would not be available to anyone outside of the developer. But that is definitely an interesting development in and of itself, and kind of shows just how much you can get done without a comprehensive knowledge base on how to actually recompile a game. I think you're just going to be seeing it more and more in the future. And again, you know my stance, I've been plain about it. Any sort of AI usage in commercial products where money is being traded with actual users, I do not like that whatsoever, and I do not support it. Any job loss from AI, I think, is a net negative for society, and I would never support anything that actually led to that. But as far as fan projects, people just playing around are concerned, you can't be mad at everything. It's just not going to make life very fun. So this is kind of just part and parcel where these developments are going. I'm not saying it's going to become 100% of how these things work. I'm just saying it definitely is going to become a big part of static recomps in the future, and we've already seen it a little bit with some other projects. But outside of that, definitely if you've never played Tomba before, I can't stress enough, it really is one of the best PlayStation 1 games of all time in my opinion. It's cute, it's colorful, and if we had a perfect static recomp with a ton of enhancements, it could be a fun time. You tell me how you feel about this down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.